All right, did you watch the president last night? It got a little tense as the president gave the State of the Union address this morning. Controversy once again swirling around Representative George Santos. Robert Moses breaking down what we really want to talk about, which was what was going on with George Santos. Did he really need to put himself in one of the first front rows of this big speech last night?
Well, I can tell you, Mitt Romney certainly doesn't think he should have put himself right in the front row, but he did. Look, Rosanna, hey, morning after the State of the Union address, and what are we talking about? George Santos. So much of last night's intrigue had nothing to do with the speech itself, but rather with the embattled Republican congressman from New York's 3rd District. And yes, George Santos, as you can see, positioned himself strategically right on the aisle where President Joe Biden walked into the House chamber. That, of course, ensured that he would be right in view of the cameras and of the president himself. Now, as you can see, the two did make eye contact there, but President Biden did not shake the congressman's hand. Santos's lies have rankled fellow Republican and former presidential nominee, Senator Mitt Romney, and Romney said as much. During this tense exchange, Romney could be seen scolding Santos and repeatedly telling him that he should be, quote, embarrassed. Afterwards, reporters asked Romney about that run-in.
Look, he's a sick puppy. He shouldn't be there. I didn't expect that he'd be standing there trying to shake hands with every senator and the President of the United States. Given the fact that he's under ethics investigation, he should be sitting in the back row and staying quiet.
But he is not sitting in the back row, and he is not staying quiet. Santos tweeted, "Hey, Mitt Romney, just a reminder that you will never be president." Santos is expected to be the subject of a House Ethics Committee investigation. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy said that if lawmakers find that Santos did anything wrong, they will take action. Santos currently not allowed to serve on the committees to which he was named. Rosanna, back to you.
Robert, it is mind-boggling that this guy who's getting so much pushback puts himself in one of the first rows, tries to shake the president's hand. I thought he shook the president's hand. You're saying he didn't?
He didn't. The president shook the person's hand right next to Santos. But I don't know this for sure, but I would bet that the people around President Biden said last night, hey, no matter how much glad-handing you do, don't shake this guy's hand.
It looked like the president, like afterwards, was like, oh, was that George Santos?
You could see there was a moment of realization, like, oh, geez, what do I do here?
The light bulb went off in his head.
Right.
But, you know, Mitt Romney's right. The guy should have sat in the back, stayed undercover. Did he really, there's something wrong that, in the middle of, while they're investigating him, he's putting himself out in public, and it's almost like he's, I don't know, chiding us.
Well, two things. First of all, he has no shame. But secondly, the Republicans need that seat. And if it were to go to a special election, let's say he were to be booted from the House, that seat could fall to a Democrat, and then the majority in the House is even narrower. So Republicans want to hold on to that seat. It's a pretty complex situation.
All right, Robert, thank you so much for that report. Now